topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is our 12th year of the show, and our first guest today, or actually our only guest today, as we do it the full 50 minutes, has been with us almost from day one. It gets more phone calls, it gets more emails than any show we do across the country. And we're so lucky to have one of the senior partners, board certified, Robert Kay, with us today. Good afternoon, Robert.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everybody.
Well, listen, everybody, I want you to do me a favor. Right, and he's going to be so mad at me, but Robert had eye surgery for the second time. So everybody keep him in prayer.
Don't make me read.
Yeah, but no eye patch this time.
No. It's been a month already, so I'm doing good.
You're doing well. Well, let me tell you how you can reach us here, because what we do is you, the audience, can ask Attorney Kay questions. You have a chance to ask an attorney who specializes in association law. You can call us live during the show at 561-623-9429. We also, if you're viewing us on the TV side, we have a monitor and we have a chat line. You can chat during the show. We will answer your questions, or during the week, you can text us and ask us your questions. You can text us at 954-336-3767. And we get a ton of text, which we will read on air. We realize a lot of people this time of day are driving and don't want to be on the phone, especially with the way these phone companies, Robert, are doing now. They know when you're on the phone and you're driving, and they go make you sit in the corner if you do that. Mm-hmm. So you have many ways to ask Robert a question. Before we get started, as always, Robert, tell us about K. Bender Rembaum.
Well, K. Bender Rembaum is a firm that focuses in the area of community association law. We provide services to community association in our offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, and Tampa. So we cover a good portion of Florida. Any aspect of community association legal issues that may come up from day to day, be it pursuit of unpaid assessments, covenant enforcements, contract negotiation, contract enforcement, construction defect, developer claims, dealing with municipalities, pretty much anything and everything of a legal nature that an association would deal with on a day-to-day basis are things that we address with you.
Well, I got to tell you, we received a text from a longtime listener, Bob in Pompano. And this is, I want to relay to you because this might be in your situation. He has to work and he misses the show. But what he does when he comes home from work, he goes to iHeart, the iHeart library, who we're partners with, and pulls up today's show and listens to it at home. So if you miss the show, you can go to iHeart. All you got to do is go to Ask the Experts, South Florida, or you can go to YouTube. Same thing, Ask the Experts, South Florida, and you can watch the show live. So
there is one more option, Steve, and that is at kbrlegal.com.
That's right. We can send them to kbrlegal.com.
That's right.
But I thought it was kind of cute how he goes home first Thursday of the month and watches the show because he's driving in the car. Anyhow, we appreciate that. We appreciate all of our listeners. And we'll just get to your questions. Anything new going on out of the state? Any new laws?
Well, this isn't the time of year that new laws are happening. The laws are already in place and they're taking effect. Most of them took effect in July. A couple of them will start in October. There's a little tweak to construction defect documents that takes place October 1st, but those aren't all that material. It just has to do with compliance, and your attorney should be aware of what those are and make sure that they cover the association on those construction forms for construction liens. So,
Robert, I just want to let you know we get a lot of letters from board members who tell me that they have a law firm that represents them and they listen to the show and they'd like to get a second opinion. Can you do that for a board member?
Well, sure. Legal contracts or engagements of attorneys are not exclusive. The association is always free to bring in another attorney for another opinion on any topic that they want to deal with. Now, if it's an active matter of collection or litigation, you wouldn't want to have two people handling the same thing. So you might ask a question and get an answer, but not that specific of involvement. But certainly we're available to provide second opinions to any association that may have such a need, and perhaps they'll like our methods and want to have more involvement with us. It's possible.
What is the phone number at the office, Robert?
You can reach us at 800-974-0680. Or you can write to info@kbrlegal.com. Or go to the website and click on the contact box on the first page and fill out that form, and somebody would reach back from there.
Before we go into questions, you have the most exciting website that has so much great information on there.
Thank you.
Can you kind of walk people through some of the areas on your website if they've never been there before?
Well, the website has an opening page that tells a little bit about the firm. You can look up the various attorneys that work with the firm. You can schedule any of the classes that we do on the calendar. We'll be talking about classes during the course of the show that are upcoming for the month of September and one in the beginning of October. There are resources of articles that we provide to the general public on issues of concern to community associations, either under the resources tab under Legal Morsels or Rembam's Roundup. And then There's an extensive library of articles that are constantly being updated. So there's generally new things within a couple of weeks. So that's a good feature for people to look into.
Right there at the top of the page, you have a lot of links. My favorite's Rimbom Roundups. That's my favorite.
Well, I'm sure Jeff will be happy to hear that.
Yes. Okay, let's get to start off our questions. We're going to go to Bob in Fort Lauderdale. And by the way, we will be going, even though we're running it right now, your calendar of events. For those who are listening on radio, we will be doing the calendar of events shortly. Bob in Fort Lauderdale, what happens to the surplus in a condo budget? Can it go into a contingency fund line item on the next year's budget? And what can a contingency fund be used for?
Well, surplus is money that's left over at the end of a budget year or at the end of a special assessment for a particular purpose. The statute provides that surplus can be used to offset future assessments. And how that is done is you have money on hand, so the next budget year you factor that money on hand into what your needs may be for that upcoming year. So it might reduce the amount that you would need to assess in the coming year. If you put it in a contingency line item, that would be something for unexpected expenses during the course of the budget year that are legitimate and called for within the governing documents of the association. There are specific functions that the association will have under its declaration of condominium, and the funds that it generates from assessments are to be used specifically for those purposes and no other. So the contingency would be used for those purposes, but for possibly unexpected occurrences that may happen during the year.
Okay, let's go to Warren in Palm Beach. He is a member of the old board, and he says the old board has been consistently given the security with the company indications to find and tow away cars in the association with the knowledge and support of the management company. As a current board member, what legal recourse can we take against both the former board member and the management company?
Well, I'm going to assume from the question that the management company is still their management company. So they're working under a contract with the association that specifies what they're supposed to do. The first thing for the board to do would be to provide a notification to its management company, its security company, its towing company that identifies those that are specifically authorized to direct them to do the things that the question is identifying, be it finding somebody, be it towing somebody, things of that nature. Written notification to them is imperative to put them on notice. This is who you take your direction from and nobody else. If in spite of that, they continue to take directions from others, the association should put that in the hands of their attorney to send them one final written demand or pursue possible legal action for breach of contract. The other aspect would be to put the old board members on written notice that they don't have the authority to be undertaking these tasks that they've taken on for themselves and that they should immediately stop. And if they don't, then they would be subject to possible legal action by the association. And if they don't stop, the board should be prepared to take that next step to bring legal action, to get an injunction to stop them from interfering with the association operation.
We seem to get a lot of letters, Robert, about special assessments that were not giving proper notice. Here's one from Becca in Pompano Beach. Further confusion, board passes special assessment without proper notice, or board gets a loan without owner's approval by deceiving the bank. Owner refuses to pay. Board liens owner. Attorney is disbarred. What can we do to stop the madness?
It sounds like a mess.
Yeah.
One option, which is the first that comes to mind, is to recall the board members that are acting in a way that's contrary to Florida law, which would require them to have the participation of at least a majority of the rest of the unit owners to accomplish the recall of the board members. The other alternative of a political nature is that the upcoming annual election, assuming it's in not too far distant future, to elect a slate of board members that is more like-minded with the writer. It is a problem if there is a special assessment that doesn't have the proper notice requirements of the statute. But, a lot of times people are operating under misconception of what notice requirements there may be. Now, if the board is adopting a special assessment at a board meeting, then there's requirement to send notice to the owners in advance of that with a specification of what all of those items are going to be that these funds are going to be used for. The board does have the power under Florida law to adopt a special assessment without having a meeting if the board is 100% in agreement and signs a written resolution to that effect. So sometimes that could happen. It's not the way things are supposed to happen, but it can happen legally in Florida. And then owners think that maybe it was done improperly when it was legally proper. So you need to know with specificity the details that involve the procedures that the board followed in adopting the special assessment. Fraudulently inducing a bank is not a good situation, but again, the charge is there. We need to know more facts as to how that occurred. The attorney disbarment, I'm not sure how that came about or what the reason was. They need to have, obviously, competent legal counsel assisting the board. The owners, it sounds like, may need to get together and hire their own attorney, and they should have as many of them participating in that as they can to pursue what the association may have done wrong. It's possible that some of that may fall within the jurisdiction of the Division of Condominium. When it involves financial matters, the division does have some enforcement authority as to that. So they could consider that, assuming this is a condominium. I don't recall if the question said it was or it wasn't. So that's a general overview of what they could consider.
We have a line open at 561-623-9429 if you have a question for Robert, or you can post it on our chat line. Let me go to Brett in Delray Beach. My question is about our board holding meetings. We are required to do 2 meetings a year, annual and budget meetings. What happens if we don't have one of those meetings?
Well, it would have to be within the governing documents if they think they're mandatory to have a board meeting. The board is required to adopt a budget on an annual basis. They are required to have an annual membership meeting to elect the board members. Those are not the same thing. A board meeting and a membership meeting are 2 different meetings. Sometimes there's misconception that when they say an annual meeting should be a board meeting, that wouldn't be the case. It would be a membership meeting where the owners will elect the board for the coming year. The law doesn't mandate the board to have a specific number of meetings during the course of the year. They need to take care of association business. They need to do that in meetings, although, as mentioned previously, there is a legal entitlement to take action by a written agreement and resolution by the board if 100% of the board is doing so. Unless there's a prohibition of that in the governing documents, and that would happen only by amendment if the owners decided to put that into their documents. So, that's the overview on that. Now, if the board is not meeting, but doing business, it makes sense for the owners to send a certified letter to the board and ask them what's the issue, why there's no meetings, how they're conducting their business. And if they don't get an adequate response, they could consider pursuing a violation with the Division of Condominiums, or hire their own individual attorney to pursue it from a legal aspect on their own.
Before we go to break, I want to get this last question in from Michael Lutz. Are email requests for official association documents valid, or should we follow up with a certified mail receipt?
And Mike doesn't say condo or HOA, right?
No, he does not.
Yeah, well, they're similar. The Division of Condominium has indicated in the past that they consider a board-made resolution requiring record inspection requests to be submitted by certified mail to be valid. So that's a possibility. If the board has a rule in place that indicates that record inspection requests have to be submitted by certified mail, then sending an email might not get the result that the owner is attempting to do. So they would be best served to follow up by certified mail. Certified mail is a good way to communicate a record inspection request, as it creates the record of receipt. And then when the statutory clock of the 10 business days begins to run. An email certainly is a written request that should satisfy statutory requirements. But again, it's going to depend on whether or not the association has adopted specific rules in accordance with the statute as to how record inspections have to be delivered.
We're going to go to our first break. Robert, give everybody the number. Now, the number you're going to give everybody is good for Pompano, Tampa, Orlando, and Palm Beach.
It's 800-974-0680.
And your website?
kbrlegal.com, and there's a info@kbrlegal.com for emails. Those are the best ways to reach us.
We're going to go to break. When we come back, we've got so many more questions for attorney Robert K. We'll be right back.
And classes to discuss.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800 974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We're back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We are with you for the South Florida show, first Thursday of the month. And we have the K. Bender Rembom show. And then also the last Tuesday of each month, we are with Orlando. And the last Thursday of the month, we have Tampa. I think I got that right. Yes. And we invite you to join us. This is our top show. It's been our top show for a long time. If you have a question today, you can call us 561-623-9429. Or if you're watching on TV, you can actually go on our chat line and ask us a question. Right now, we are going through all the people who texted us questions, but feel free to write us or call us right now. We're going to go to Margaret in Tampa. If a board was elected using an e-voting without a resolution for e-voting, and our board has been operating as if they were properly elected, what resource do we have to remove them?
I think she might have meant recourse, but that's okay. Generally speaking, your best method of removing board members is the recall process, so long as it's longer than 60 days before or after the annual election when the recall is submitted. Generally, that is undertaken by going to the Department of Business and Professional Regulation website, going to the Division of Condominium, going into their forms, and they have a form document for a recall agreement that is fairly simple to use. You fill out certain portions of it as to who you're trying to recall. Don't pre-market. You have to have a unit owner representative and then a place for the owners to sign. You need to get the signature of at least a majority of the owners within the condominium to complete the recall. Once you've obtained, and we suggest you get more than a majority in case there's a problem with any of the signatures. You have to make sure it's the owner, and if you have designated voting representative in your community, you want to make sure if you don't know who that is, you get all the owners of the unit to sign. And then when you have a sufficient number, you deliver it to the association by certified mail or by a process server. And that starts the clock for the board to acknowledge the receipt and step down or submit it to arbitration as to the sufficiency of the recall. That's the only method for this particular fact situation.
Okay. Marvin in Delray Beach, is it considered negligence if the board doesn't get leaking pipes taken care of and we eventually get flooding? Is it hard to prove negligence? Can you explain? And I've never heard this HO6 policy.
HO6 is the insurance policy that unit owners get that cover the portions of the unit that the owners are responsible for. The wall, floor, ceiling coverings, cabinets, personal property. That's the HO6 policy, and you get that from your homeowner insurance provider. As far as board negligence, it's going to be a factual-based issue, whether the board knew or should have known of the situation. Once they became aware of it, there's certain obligation to address, first to investigate and determine the cause, And then once they do that, determine whether it's their responsibility to fix or the unit owner's responsibility to fix, and then promptly take care of that. All of that has to be done promptly and within a reasonable time. So you'd have to be able to show that the board knew of the problem and then failed to take the appropriate actions in a timely fashion to address it, which resulted in the damages that occurred as a proximate cause is the legal term, and that there obviously were damages that did occur. So that's basically what's required for negligence. And it's not difficult to prove, but there are elements that all have to be established in order to make such a claim.
Okay, let's go to Peter in Hollywood. Peter writes us all the time. This is regarding safety. Can a board run a meeting and require members who are not on the board to attend and participate virtually?
Well, since 2020 and the COVID situation, a large number of associations have found that having their meetings virtually through a Zoom type format or some other format to allow owners to participate online instead of physically being somewhere has been more workable for them and preferred. There's nothing in the law that says they cannot do it, and there has been some encouragement to continue to do that. So this particular community could legally do that. And it's suggested that there be at least a location that people can go to, even if it's just to see a computer hookup that's being handled by a representative of the association to make sure that it functions and that both sides can see and hear each other. Otherwise, they could use perhaps telephone because these virtual links usually have a telephone option as well. But it is legal for the association to hold their meetings that way.
Let's talk about conflicts, Marty and Boca Raton. Is this a conflict of interest? The president works full-time for our accounting bookkeeping company.
That's a potential conflict, but not necessarily an actual conflict, depending on what the president's role is with the accounting firm. Is he an owner of it or an employee? Does the president get a benefit from the fact that this association is a client of the accounting firm? At the very least, the president should have disclosed to the board the connection to the accounting firm with the details as to what it is, and then the board would determine whether or not they'd want to continue doing business under that format. That disclosure has to be made at a meeting, and the owners have the opportunity to vote to cancel the agreement if an actual conflict does exist, if the board goes through with it. This one is seemingly more in the gray area based on the way it was described, because it may not be an owner of the company, it may just be an employee that doesn't get any financial gain one way or the other if the association's a client. So that one could go either way.
You know,
by the way, Steve, you have not asked about any upcoming classes.
Oh, let's go to it then.
We're getting deep into the show, so we don't want to necessarily miss that.
Let's go to it. We do this every show, besides running it on the scroll, about all the different events that K. Bender Rimbaum is doing for the month of September.
And we do have a few things upcoming in September that are worth knowing about. And then there's one at the beginning of October before the next show. So Wednesday, September 13th, from noon to 1 p.m. via Zoom, hosted by Campbell Property Management, Lisa Miguel from Pompano will be doing a course on source of income discrimination. It has to do with where owners get their money to purchase their units. And so that it could be an issue of discrimination. That is a very interesting course. There is one CEU for managers on that course as well. On Tuesday, September 19th, from 11:30 to 12:30 on Zoom, Alan Schwartzide from Orlando will be doing covenant enforceability for community associations, an overview on covenant enforcement options and actions for associations to consider. There's also one CEU in that as well. Association leadership, SIRS and Insurance Landscape will be on Wednesday, September 20th from noon to 1 p.m. Hosted by the Castle Group. Michael Bender will be in a panel discussing all of these issues, which are certainly of great interest to many condominiums throughout Florida. Also on Wednesday, September 20th at 5 to 7 p.m., a live presentation at the Tamarack Community Center. Emily Gannon from the Pompano office will be doing a homeowner association board member certification course. There's 2 CEUs for managers on that one, and certification, of course, for the HOA board members. On Wednesday, September 27th, from 11:30 to 12:30, on Zoom, Kirsten Hentz, who's now working out of our Tampa office, will be doing guest restrictions and screening of tenants and new owners, which many associations have interest in the legal ramifications of reviewing sales and lease applications. And of note, on October the 3rd in Orlando, there is an expo. I don't have the specific location available at the moment, but there is going to be a legal update presentation by the firm at 2:30 p.m. at the Orlando Expo on October the 3rd. Check on our website on the calendar at kbrlegal.com to get more details on that. Can RSVP at kbrlegal.com event calendar /event calendar, or just go to the calendar at kbrlegal.com, choose the course you want to sign up for, and get the login information for the Zooms.
And these classes are all free. And we get people writing us, telling us about your certification classes, how wonderful they are.
Well, they're very helpful. And certainly recommended for those trying to get certified in that area.
Well, that's going to lead us right into our break. Give everybody the phone number, Robert.
You can reach us at 800-974-0680. Can write to us at kbrlegal.com at info@kbrlegal.com, or go to the website and click on the contact box on the opening page.
And when we come back, we'll have more of your questions. We'll be right back.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
Please tell your friends that we come on every first Thursday of the month at 5 o'clock from 5 to 5:50. And please have them join our show. We're going to go back to your questions. Zeke and Boynton, is it state law requires the board meetings are open to members and require that members have the opportunity to address the board? Does this have to be in person?
No, if the meeting is going to be in a virtual format on Zoom, owners can attend that way. They can also attend by telephone speaker, have been able to do that for many, many years. So long as the board can hear the owners and the owners can hear the board, that's the main requirement of accessibility to meetings.
Okay, let's go to Rhonda in Palm Beach Gardens. What would be considered rules regarding until use? What would be considered rules regarding unit use, like changing door colors, adding hurricane windows, shutters?
Well, the issue here is what type of notice requirement a board has to provide to owners when they're adopting new rules. There's different standards depending on the rules that are being considered. When it's rules affecting common elements for condos, common properties for HOAs, there is no requirement beyond the 48-hour notice of any board meeting. But if you're dealing with rules that are governing unit use or parcel use, then there's a requirement of a 14-day advance written notice of the proposed rule changes that are being considered at the meeting. So if the rule is involving the actual unit or only involving the common elements, that's going to be the answer to the question of which is required. So from the examples that were given, if you are putting a potted plant on the common areas or common elements, that would be a rule about the common elements, not the potted plant. The potted plant is not part of the unit. It's a piece of personal property that is being placed on the common element. If you're dealing with the hurricane shutters, or if you're dealing with noise reduction of flooring, things of that nature that are involving the unit itself, then that's clearly one that would require the 14-day notice. Anything that the unit owner is supposed to be dealing with as far as maintenance typically falls within the unit requirement. So I guess the best answer is I need a specific to tell you, but in general terms, that's how you would look at it.
Here's a question from a listener. Have you heard anything about community association insurance relief?
Nothing of a positive nature, unfortunately. The whole insurance industry is, as we know, experiencing significant problems in the state, and the actions taken by the legislature most recently are expected to take some time before any relief is actually felt, if at all. And there's debate as to whether what was done previously will be sufficient until the legislature meets again next year. There really isn't anything else other than keep your fingers crossed.
Okay, let's go to Clark and Davy, is it required that all condo associations have to have a CPA?
Well, there's no legal requirement that they have to have a CPA, but there is a requirement that certain financial reports are made each year for the owners. And for communities with budgets of 150,000 or less, there's no requirement to do anything other than a statement of expenditures and receipts. And that can be done without the need of a CPA. From 150 to 300,000, you've got the requirement of a compilation. And from a compilation perspective, you may not need a CPA for that. That's just taking your numbers. It could be somebody who's an accountant but doesn't have the certification. Then from 300 to 500,000 of gross receipts, you're required to have a review done. And a review is more involved in the financial records, and that would likely require a CPA. And if your budget's over 500,000, then you have to do an audit, in which case you would need a CPA for that. So while the law doesn't mandate CPA, the types of reports that you have to prepare depending on your gross receipts may dictate the answer to that.
Okay, let's go to John in Delray Beach. A lot of Delray Beach tonight. When
Nice.
A board of directors takes legal action against a former property manager, what information can be given to the homeowners?
Well, if there's a pending legal action, meaning a lawsuit has been filed, whatever's in the public record is generally things that the board members can discuss. And what's in the public record is what's been filed in the case. The complaint, the allegations that have been made, any responses to the complaint or answer that the other side makes, motions, things of that nature. But when you get into details, it's generally recommended that there be no discussion, in that certain strategies of the association have to remain confidential, or else it might leak to the wrong people and that could hurt the association's case. So attorneys typically advise the board not to discuss the matter until such time as there's a resolution. So anything pending is likely not going to have a lot of details.
Robert, you and Michael have really built up an incredible firm, K. Bender Rimbaum.
Don't forget Jeff.
Tell everybody why, if they're a board member or a property management company, why it would be best to have your firm represent them.
We have
Pat yourself on the
back. Our focus is the legal needs of community associations. Many firms that do this type of work, they also have other focuses that they are involved in, which can dilute their attention. Ours is almost exclusively association. Combined experience of the attorneys is more than 100 years of strictly community association work, as well as the number of board certified attorneys in the area that we presently have with us, as well as a board certified construction litigation attorney. We strive ourselves on customer service. We pride ourselves. We strive for being responsive in a timely fashion, in a manner that's easily understandable to the layperson, so that you're not going to get a long-winded letter that doesn't really give you an answer to what you're looking for, but tells you both sides of the situation that can be very confusing. We make every effort to focus in on the issue that is most important to the association, and then provide the information necessary in a manner that is easily usable and understandable. And we do that. We also strive to be cost effective to the association. Now, there's no question that attorneys are not inexpensive, but it is a necessary requirement for associations. They're operating a business. The people that are involved are generally not experts or professionals in that field. So they do need the assistance of experts and professionals to guide them in best operating their communities. And given our experience and our methods, we do have a large number of very happy clients, and that's what it really tells the tale.
You do it that. Well, we've come to the end of another Ask the Expert show. One more time, give everybody your toll-free number and your website.
You can reach us at 800-974-0680. You can write to us at info@kbrlegal.com, or you can go to our website, kbrlegal.com, and go to the contact box on the opening page and provide information, and we'll get back with you very quickly.
Robert, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, and to all of those who celebrate.
It is Happy Rosh Hashanah. And that concludes tonight's show. We will be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts. Stay.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.